Hello, this is Hwansan Singing. Once again, whatever we're doing, whatever is on our minds, let's put all of that down and let's enter into meditation together. So once again, let's assume proper meditation posture. And as we assume this posture, allow our bodies to relax into it and stabilize. Try to remove all unnecessary tension from your body while remaining true to the basic reference points. So tuck in your chin slightly, keep your eyes open, look straight ahead, but don't stare at any point. Keep your tongue pressed lightly against the roof of your mouth behind your upper row of teeth. Make sure to observe the hand position correctly. Don't allow your thumb tips to fall away from one another, and don't push your thumbs hard against each other either. Just lightly allow your thumbs to meet in a graceful rainbow shape. Remove all tension, especially from your shoulders, your upper chest, your neck, and your face. In this position, just allow your body to settle in. And once you feel centered and stabilized, we can now enter into preparation breathing together. So together, inhale, hold, then exhale through the mouth. When we exhale, imagine that all of the accumulated tension, stress, and worry of the day is being blown out, both of our minds and our bodies. Once again, inhale. Hold. And then exhale. And now let's enter into abdominal breathing together. Abdominal breathing, once again, is done only through the nose. Inhale and push out your lower belly. Hold. Then exhale. In reality, our small intestines and other organ systems are inside of our abdomen. But if we've been practicing this abdominal breathing long enough, we really will feel a sense of hollowness, as if there is a great space within our lower abdomen, and it is filling not only with air, but also with energy. With that feeling, again, inhale. Hold. And then exhale. Allow this deep breathing to clarify your mind, calm your body, and pacify your emotions. Once again, inhale. Hold. And then exhale. And now let's engage the Imoko Hwadu. Together, inhale. Hold. Then out loud. Imoko. When we do the Imoko Hwadu, imagine that that sound, that question, is being asked from within our lower abdomen, as if that question is one with our outbreath and emerges from the pit of our belly. It's almost as if we're speaking from the gut, even though we're intoning in our own minds. So with that feeling, let's try it again out loud. Inhale, hold, and then together, Imoko. This, what is this? What is the thing that I call me? What is this that directs my body? When I think a thought, what is it within me that creates that thought? When I imagine an image in my mind, what is it within me that sees that image in my mind as if it's been thrown on a movie screen? When I experience an emotion, what is it within me that is feeling that emotion? This is the question that we ask when we ask Imoko. This, what is this? What is this that is asking, what is this? We ask this question with a feeling of great urgency, sincerity, authenticity, and honesty. We have to really mean it when we ask ourselves this question. And when we do that, we will experience the mind of doubt, the feeling of wanting to know the unknowable, to perceive the imperceptible. Once again, let's try it. Breathe in, hold, and then together, 이목고. When we ask the question, we want to avoid creating physical or emotional tension inside of ourselves. Our bodies should be very relaxed. Our emotions should be very calm. Only in our mind are we very alert, focused, and clear, and concentrated. We need to learn this very delicate balance between the various components of our mind, body, and emotions. So once again, inhale, hold, and then together, 이목고. Once again, I will ask the members of our studio audience and our viewers at home to continue to meditate throughout the course of this program. Now, I've mentioned on this program before that in addition to these program duties, I also teach students, specifically at Seoul National University and Korea University in Seoul. And my students often tell me that they want to live with greater passion, with greater diligence. They want to live each day to the fullest, but somehow it doesn't work out. Somehow we get distracted. We wake up in the morning, we have every intention to go out there and do our best, but then we begin to waste time, maybe chatting with our friends, or going on the internet, or just wasting time. These little moments of wasted time can add up to dozens of moments. And these dozens of moments of wasted time in the course of a day, take that day and turn it into a kind of a shapeless morass of incidents and activities. We want that day to be focused with purpose and clarity, and yet we don't feel that sense of forward momentum because we find ourselves constantly being sidetracked. So the topic of today's contemplation and meditation is, what can Son Buddhist teachings and practices do for us to help us in our effort to seize the day? Carpe Diem. Now, on this point, this is actually, I think, a problem that almost any human being who wants to live a passionate and focused life encounters sooner or later. And actually, our teacher, Sun Master Songdam, has something very specific to say on this matter of trying to live each day to the fullest. And what he teaches is this: we must live each day as if that day is an entire meditation retreat season. Now, in order to understand the significance of that statement, I think we need to understand a little bit about the Son Buddhist system of meditation that's been installed in Korea. Now, the year on the Son Buddhist monastic calendar is divided into two major retreat seasons, the summer and the winter. In the summer and in the winter, for 3 months, Sun meditators enter into a season of intensive meditation practice. And then these are followed by breaks and then by lesser retreat seasons. So when Sun Master Songdam tells us that we should live each day as if it's an entire meditation retreat season, he means that we should live each day as if it's 90 days of meditative practice. Now, when we try to do 90 days of meditative practice, what happens to many, especially beginning meditating monks, is that at the very beginning, we're very determined to practice hard every single day. But in spite of ourselves, as the days pass into weeks, we lose our intensity. To use Sun Master Songdam's phrasing, we begin with our fists clenched and our teeth gritted. But over time, our fists loosen and our jaws go slack. We lose that intense focus. So what can we do on a daily level to get us through an entire meditation retreat season with intensity? And what I would like to share here today for our students and our viewers and the members of our studio audience is the strategy used, the system used by my home temple, Hwansan, in Incheon, which is designed according to the teachings of Sun Master Songdam and his own teacher, the late Sun Master Chunggang. Now, in most respects, we follow the same sort of monastic regulations of all of the other monastic communities, the other monasteries and temples in Korea. But there are a few unique factors in the way that my temple approaches meditative practice. And the first of these is that every day, very early in the morning, an audio recording of Sun Master Songdam's Dharma speech is broadcast throughout the entire monastic compound. And every single person who happens to be there meditates while listening to his Dharma speech. The next component is that, and this is shared with all other Buddhist monasteries in Korea, the next component is that there is a very highly regimented daily schedule that all members of the monastic community, whether they're monastics or lay people, are expected to follow. And finally, of course, all meditation takes place in a community setting. These three factors, repeatedly broadcasting Sun Master Songdam's Dharma speech, having a regimented daily schedule, and practicing in a community setting, help keep us focused and helps to maintain our intensity in the course of an entire meditation retreat season and in the course of a single day of that season. This system is designed so that we can not only get through a meditation retreat season, but also so that we can treat each day as a meditation retreat season. If you've lived in this system, you will know, first of all, that by playing, by listening to a Dharma speech almost first thing in the morning every day, the first thing that happens to us is that we are reminded of our most basic values, our most important goals. We are cautioned against certain dangers in our practice, and we are encouraged, very powerfully encouraged, to go forth. This is the first thing that happens to us when we're living at Hwansan. The second thing, of course, is the daily schedule, which provides a life structure for us, so that at any given moment of the day, we know exactly where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. This provides a foundation for our life activities and behavior, and also a push in our practice. It pushes us forward through the day and through the days of the meditation retreat season. Finally, by practicing in a community setting, we are under constant social pressure. There is no opportunity to become lazy or distracted or to fall off track. People are around us who are constantly, silently pushing us forward in our practice. And on the other hand, we are surrounded by very impressive practitioners as well. And when we see other meditators doing the best that they can, that inspires us. And so there's a resonant effect where our hard practice inspires those around us, and the hard practice of those around us inspires us. To use Sun Master Songdam's terminology, we are pushed from behind and pulled from in front. We do this for one another. Now, even though we may not be living in a monastic community setting, still I believe that these three factors can be incorporated into the lives of ordinary modern people to help them live their day to the fullest. So in order to do that, I think that the first thing that we need to do, and this is something that I've mentioned at different points this year, but nonetheless I believe bears repeating, is that we need to be very clearly aware of our core beliefs and values and our most important life goals. If we do not have such a clear understanding of these values, beliefs, and goals, then there's no target point. There is nothing to push us forward, and there's nothing to measure our efforts and guide our behavior by. So if we don't have a very clear understanding of this, we need to take the time to meditate, to self-reflect, to understand who we are, what we truly believe in, what we're truly passionate about. And from this self-reflection, to gain a clear understanding and expression of our most basic values and belief, and then generate goals based on these values and beliefs, and then ultimately be able to build a long-term strategy and a daily schedule, all based on these values and beliefs. And when we can do this, this plays the role of Sun Master Songdam's Dharma speech in our lives. This is our own teaching to ourselves about what we're trying to do with our lives, the kind of meaning that we want to invest in our lives and in our life activities. So we need this very clear self-reflection and self-understanding. And once we have that, then we can use the other components of the Hwansan strategy of trying to live each day to the fullest. And so the next thing to consider after we gain a clear understanding of our values, beliefs, and goals, and a plan to follow that, is we need to ritualize our morning activity. Every single day of the year, 365 days a year without rest at Hwansan, begins exactly the same. The first 3.5 hours of every single day of the year at Hwansan is exactly the same all the time. Every day, everyone who happens to be living in the monastery wakes up at 3 a.m. They get washed up, they go up to the Dharma hall, and at 3:30 a.m., they conduct the early morning veneration of the Buddha ceremony. Then at 4 a.m., everyone goes into the meditation halls, and as mentioned before, we all listen to the audio recording of Sun Master Songdam's Dharma speech together. Then at 5 a.m. comes a brief break period, during which each person will follow their own routine. And then finally, at 5:50 a.m., everyone goes for breakfast, and that will last roughly until about 6:30. So from 3:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m., every single day at Hwansan is exactly the same. And that first 3.5 hours of the day provides a solid foundation for the rest of the day that follows. That first 3.5 hours is a springboard by which we can jump into the day. And this is what I would like to suggest for our viewers at home. Even if you don't happen to be living at Hwansan, nonetheless, to create for ourselves a concrete morning ritual that we will follow without fail every single morning so that we can basically begin the day right. And if you don't have a morning ritual, I would like to make the following suggestion. Pick a time to wake up as early as possible without sacrificing your basic health needs. Wake up at exactly the same hour, get up, stretch a little bit, wash up, and then meditate for a period of time. After meditating, review your life goals and values and plans. If possible, review your schedule for that day so that you have a clear sense of direction and purpose for what has to be done each single day, and then go have breakfast. This would be the equivalent of the first 3.5 hours at Hwansan. It seems like a simple thing, but it's actually very, very difficult to do this on our own. This is why we practice in a community setting. It's helpful to have people around you pushing you. Even if you don't happen to be living in a monastic community, if you can summon social support for your efforts, if you happen to be living in a home or some environment with other people, maybe you could share your goals with them and have them help you to build this early morning ritual. The importance of the early morning ritual cannot be overemphasized. In addition to that, though, I would like to suggest one more thing. As I've mentioned before on this program, my home temple, Hwansan, is actually located in a very congested urban environment. The air is not very good. It's very noisy. There's lots of traffic. It's very crowded. So there's a high level of stress, a high buildup of nervous energy, and there isn't really a lot of natural scenery around us to be able to alleviate our stress. It's typical, it's customary in Korean Buddhism for monastics to trek in the mountains a lot. But since we don't have a mountain around us, we don't have that option available to us. And so every single member of our community needs to find some system, some activity for emotionally and physically recharging ourselves. For example, I myself try to do a little bit of exercise every day. And I find that that's not only good for my physical health, but it's also a good way to release the buildup of nervous energy that inevitably occurs in living in an urban environment. Most people, I believe, who watch this program live in an urban environment and therefore will be subject to the same conditions. Therefore, simply by living in a busy city, we're already under a certain level of stress. We're already under the duress of a certain level of sensory overload. So in addition to our meditation, I believe that we need something of our very own that can help us to dispel the negative emotional energy and help us hold a positive mindset. For example, one of my students recently discovered that by swimming, she's able to do this. And she notices that on the days that she doesn't swim, she's not as effective in getting the tasks of the day done as compared to the days when she actually does go out swimming. So these are very simple things, but each of us will have our own unique way of doing this. And so we need some time alone, and we need some time to experiment and find our unique way to build this positive energy and dispel the negative energy that builds up in modern society. So this is an additional thing that I would like to suggest for those of us who want to live our days to the fullest. Now, another thing to consider on a 90-day retreat season is that there is a tradition in Korean Buddhism called, literally translated, the half-life. And what that means is it's the exact halfway point, the 45th day of a 90-day retreat. Experienced meditators know that they have to pace themselves, much like running a marathon, to get through 3 full months of meditation. And experienced meditators also know that the second half is actually more important than the first half. We need to finish strong, not just start strong. So the second half actually feels much longer and is much more strenuous. So in many monasteries, there is a tradition of observing the half-life day and either recharging ourselves with an extra bit of rest or going in the other direction and holding a Dharma assembly to refocus ourselves and to get us back on track if we happen to be experiencing loss of energy. Now, because Sun Master Songdam advises us to live each day as an entire meditation retreat season, we not only have a half-life in an entire 90-day retreat season, we also have a half-life in the middle of each day. And what that is that on almost every day of the retreat season, at exactly 2 p.m., an audio recording of Sun Master Songdam's Dharma speech is again broadcast throughout the entire monastic compound, and everyone listens to it. And so at the halfway point of the daily meditation retreat, we once again are reminded of our most basic values and goals. We are once again admonished not to be lazy, not to allow ourselves to be distracted, and we are once again educated in the details of advanced meditative practice. And this gives us a springboard to get through the second half of the meditation retreat that is each day. Now, to parallel this, I would like to suggest to our viewers that even if we don't have the opportunity to listen to an entire audio recorded Dharma speech in the middle of our day, still to pick a moment in the middle of the day and once again remind ourselves of our most basic values and beliefs and goals. We can review our daily schedule, we can look over a piece of inspirational reading, or we can just take a moment, a few minutes to meditate again and refresh ourselves and refocus ourselves. This, I think, is a very, very wise strategy, and I think it's very meaningful that Sun Master Chungang and Sun Master Songdam picked the time of 2 p.m. to play the recorded Dharma speech, because it is, statistically speaking, it is at those hours that people become most distracted and most unfocused. It is at that time of the day that worker productivity is at its lowest. It's also at that time of day that the most number of traffic accidents occur. So right at that time, when we have a tendency toward loss of energy and disfocus, it's a good time, it's a good strategy to pick that time and find some way to refocus ourselves, some way to marshal our physical and mental energy again, and then go back to attacking the day, go back to seizing the day. Finally, in terms of schedule, I would like to suggest that just as we ritualize the morning, we need to ritualize the night as well. Every night at Hwansan, 365 days a year, also ends exactly the same. We are all expected to end the final hours of the day between 7 and 9 in meditation just before going to sleep at 9. Even if some of us are too busy to be able to make the full 2 hours, nonetheless, the final thing we do each day is expected to be meditation, followed by sleep. So for those of us, again, who are not living in Hwansan or in some kind of monastic community, nonetheless, if at all possible, we need to find a way to ritualize the end of the day. And again, I would like to suggest that the best way is after we've washed, after we've done all of our preparations, one thing that we can do is set up the schedule for our next day, and then finally, just before we go to sleep, take time to meditate. And after meditating, even when we lie down to go to sleep, to be doing the abdominal breathing, to be doing the meditation on Imoko as we drift into sleep on our beds or our blankets. So this is a way in which we can structure our day to mimic that of Hwansan and gain the benefits of this approach to living each day. The importance of these three factors at Hwansan, the early morning Dharma speech, the daily schedule, and the community setting for practice really cannot be overestimated. Whenever there are times, in any organization, in any community, there are always peak times and trough times, times when things are going well, and times when things are not going well. In any time that things are not going well in a monastic setting, it's always because one of those three elements, or perhaps more than one of those three elements, are not being followed. And when those things are not followed, inevitably people become distracted, undisciplined, and then conflict arises. And this brings us to the final component that I would like to share. Just as the members of Hwansan monastic community practice in a community setting, in the context of social relationships, I think the last thing that we need to do in trying to live our days to the fullest is to pay attention to our most significant relationships, to organize our significant relationships. The first thing that we are taught as beginning monastics in Korean Buddhism is to be very careful about who you become close with. We have been advised literally since the time of the Buddha to become close with those in whom we see something to respect and admire. And conversely, to keep distance from those who may have a negative effect on our meditative practice. Social influence is amazingly powerful and difficult to block. So we need to take time to review the closest relationships around us and do this in a systematic way. I remember about 10 years ago, based on some writings that I had read, I actually did a very systematic review of the most closest relationships, of my most close social relationships. And as I had read, I tried to do an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of each relationship and then visualized very clearly how I wanted each relationship to be, very, very clearly in great detail, and then make the effort to push those relationships to change in a positive direction. And by taking such a systematic approach to my most significant relationships, I was happy to find that except for just one of them, actually I was able to effect positive change in all of them, except for one. So what I found in personal experience was that if we approach our relationships in the same way that we approach our academic and work projects, we can see very powerful results. If we have a significant relationship that we feel is generating a negative influence on living each day to the fullest, we have basically three choices. We can try to change the relationship for the better, or we can terminate the relationship, or if those two options are not available, then we can try our best to either neutralize or at least reduce the negative influence of that relationship. The Son Buddhist tradition tells us to be very, very austere in how we view our social relationships because they are so important and so influential in how we behave and how we meditate. They tell us that if anything gets in the way of our meditative practice, we need to take clear action to remove that. And this is reflected in the Korean Buddhist monastic tradition of monastics leaving behind their families and never talking with them again, even if their families happen to love them very much. So we need to, we don't have maybe have to go that far in our lives as societal people, but nonetheless, we need to enter into meditation and reflect on our most important relationships with cool objectivity, with great clarity, and see what we can do to shape that network of relationships into a powerful foundation for our effort to live each day to the fullest. If we had an unlimited number of days on earth, then each day would not be precious. But the truth is, we don't have an unlimited number of days. And this makes every single day of our lives very, very important. This year marks the 40th anniversary of Sun Master Songdam's formal assumption of leadership in my home temple of Yongwasa. Exactly 40 years ago, his teacher, Sun Master Jeonggang, passed away, and Sun Master Songdam became leader of Yongwasa. And this year in January, to commemorate the 40th year anniversary, he prepared a teaching on the urgency of the reality of impermanence, which I would now like to share with you. And what I now share with you is a translation of his original Korean teaching. He taught us the world of the universe is formation, duration, disintegration, and disappearance. A nation is rise and fall, accomplishment and degradation. A person is birth, aging, sickness, and death. Thought is arisal, abiding, departure, and disappearance. Emotion is joy, anger, sorrow, and pleasure. Although each thing differs in greatness and smallness, in scope and narrowness, all have the nature of impermanence. Everything is impermanent. But the Buddha's supreme vehicle Dharma is the path of living eternity in the midst of impermanence. If we are serious about our desire to live each day to the fullest, we need to answer a single question to ourselves. And that question is, what is the most important thing in life? Hello again, and welcome to The Inner Voice. This week, we have a question from Nicolas Leotta, an American teacher living in Seoul. Nicholas writes, Dear Hwansan S님, how can I carry my meditation around with me? If I am engaged in conversation or needing to focus on someone speaking, how do I practice? How do I practice if my full attention on some external situation is required? For example, how are you, Hwansan S님, practicing right now? Isn't meditation in motion throughout the course of our normal days more powerful stuff? Thank you, Nicholas. First of all, Nicholas, I would like to thank you also for asking such important questions regarding the details of committed meditative practice. I think your questions are important for anyone who is interested in incorporating meditation into their own lives in a serious way. And you've asked a number of questions, so I would like to go through them one by one. So the first question you asked is, how can I carry my meditation around with me? The answer to that, according to Sun Master Songdam, is to always make the effort to ask ourselves the question, imoko. Literally, he says, when we're eating, ask ourselves, imoko. When we're taking a shower, ask ourselves, imoko. This, what is this? When we're walking, ask ourselves, imoko. In every single activity, every single moment of the day, every time we're aware that we're thinking about something else, we are asked to return to our fundamental hwadu. The question, this, what is this? And in addition to this, on a pure logistical level, we need to make a daily schedule of practice. We need to formally have a structure in our lives that has us meditating as much as possible. And when we do this, when we schedule meditation into our lives, and when we make the effort in every waking moment to be focused on the question imoko, we create within ourselves what the Son Buddhist tradition calls a mass of doubt. It is a feeling, a physical and mental feeling that there is a lump, a literal physical mass of doubt within our bodies. And what happens then is that we are able to focus our attention on that doubt at all times. And this is called observing the mind of doubt, or simply observing the doubt. So we need to get to a point in our meditation where we feel the doubt as a physical presence in both our minds and our bodies. And when we can do that, we can, metaphorically speaking, keep an eye on that doubt at all times. In order to be able to do this, we have to be very, very intensely committed to the practice of meditation every day and every moment. That is the formal and traditional Son Buddhist answer to your question. Now, the second question, if I am engaged in conversation or needing to focus on someone speaking, how do I practice? Son Master Songdam himself recognized the difficulty of trying to meditate when we're constantly being drawn into conversations, and he famously embarked on a 10-year vow of silence. But after he broke his vow of silence, and after he took on the role of teacher, he advised us, all of his disciples and followers, not to follow his example. Do not try to take a formal vow of silence. This actually creates more logistical problems and social obstacles than when we're actually speaking. And instead, he suggests a more practical strategy of speaking only when necessary. And the actual technique for doing this is, you know, in your daily life, you may be holding your hwadu, you may be thinking imoko, and then suddenly you need to listen to someone speak or you need to say something. Then you take a moment to speak or listen, and then you simply return back to your doubt, back to observing the mind of doubt. This is the practical answer to the question of what to do when you're being pulled into a conversation. And this is the practical answer for beginners. According to the tradition, once you become an advanced meditator, this so-called mass of doubt will always be with us, even when we're talking, even when we're listening. Until we get to that time, we can use this strategy of briefly interrupting our practice to say what needs to be said and then returning to our practice. The next question you ask is, how do I practice if my full attention on some external situation is required? I actually asked the exact same question to Son Master Songdam many years ago when I was just beginning my monastic career. And what he said to me back then, I'll share with you. If you're just a beginner at meditation, then get your task done. If you have some kind of formal responsibility or assignment, professional or otherwise, get it done first, and then go back to your meditation. In time, you will learn how to meditate while you are working, while you are engaging something. You'll be able to maintain meditation through higher levels of complexity in your tasks. But until you get to that time, practically speaking, take a moment or take whatever time is necessary off, get it done, and then get back to your meditation. The next question you asked to me personally was, for example, how are you, Hwansan Sinim, practicing right now? I'm doing the best that I can to meditate while speaking. And I make it a practice whenever we film this program to meditate just before filming, to be as much as possible in a meditative state when we enter into filming, and to maintain the meditative state while filming. How successful I am, I'm not sure, but I am making the effort. Finally, you ask, isn't meditating in motion throughout the course of our normal days more powerful stuff? I can understand how theoretically that will sound, that may sound very appealing, but the truth is that the sun meditation tradition tells us that the standard seated posture is actually still the most efficient way to meditate. At the end of the day, this posture is the most effective, and this is why professional meditating monastics enter into meditation halls. And this is why serious meditators are always trying to increase the number of their sitting hours and decrease the number of hours that they may spend doing other things. They'll try to meditate while doing those other things, but nonetheless, we want to be sitting as much as possible. So these are the answers that I have to share with you, Nicholas, and all of the other meditators out there. I hope these are very helpful. And I want to thank you once again for asking such incisive and perceptive questions regarding meditation practice. And also I would like to thank you for being so seriously committed to incorporating meditative practice into your own life. I hope you contact us again. Thank you again. So this takes us once again to the end of our program. Once again, I will thank all the members of our studio audience and all of our viewers at home for participating in today's program. And again, I close our program with the traditional Buddhist greeting. May we all attain the Buddha. And with 3 claps of the chukpi, we will enter into our closing session of meditation.